Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is the regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting of the Horsehead Central School District Board of Education. Tonight is the night of the BOCE's budget adoption, as well as the deadline for the district to adopt its budget as well. We've been going through many budget presentations over the past 2 months, and the culmination of that work will be presented tonight to the board, and I do believe it's in line with what the board had asked the administration to do. At this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our board president, and as you can see, she is in a wheelchair, but she's going to attempt to get up, but Ms. Christine Dale.
All right, good evening, everybody. Can you please join me to the pledge? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So first up tonight, we have the approval of our minutes. We have 2.01 and 2.02. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Any comments, questions, or discussions on either of these? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Okay. Our next section is our community questions and comments. So if there's anybody in the community that would like to address the board, I'd ask you to come up to the podium, state your name and your address. You have 3 minutes. I do keep track of the time. I will give you a warning, and then I'll ask you to wrap it up. Just keep in mind, this is not a two-way dialogue. It's just an opportunity for you just to state your concern. If it's appropriate for Dr. Douglas to make a comment afterwards, he will. Otherwise, somebody will get back to you if it's a question that needs to be answered. And then also just keep in mind that we do not discuss any personnel, any individual people as part of the public comment and question. So I'll open it up now to anybody who would like to speak. Your name and address, please.
My name is John Updike. I live at 7501 Hull Road in Big Flats. I'd like to address the modified baseball program, specifically the fact that nearly a month into the season, after the coaches had done their best with the limited resources they have, with only 2 coaches, to try to evenly distribute the teams, now there's a discussion about trying to reevaluate the students to try to create a more even distribution of the players across the 2 teams. In my opinion, I think it's extremely subversive and shows a complete lack of confidence in the coaches in trying and basically telling them that after the work that you've done to try to create equality in the 2 teams, you haven't done a good enough job. As a coach myself, I think it's incredibly important that you create cohesion between your players, between the players and coaches, and I think that this attempt by whomever to try to realign the teams after they've gotten this far into the season makes it very difficult for not only the players but also the coaches. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to come?
Hi, I'm Katrina. I live at 518 Westlake Street
Can we
in,
have the last name as well?
Katrina Varsky. And I live at 518 Westlake Street in Horseheads. And I just had some concerns as a Center Street parent with all of the things that were going on. We've talked a little bit about it at some of the meetings that we've been having. And my concerns and my questions, I really want to know more logistics about what's going to happen with the teachers, with being able to reapply for their jobs and where they're going to be since the districts are merging. I want to know more about that process, what that's going to look like for them. We talked a little bit about it today, like what's going to happen to the art teacher and the music teacher and the gym teachers and the nurses and the support staff when all of this stuff takes place. And then today in the meeting we were talking about how the board is responsible for the redistricting and redrawing the lines for where all of the kids are going to go. But my question is, and what I had a lot of concerns about was how can we add on to all of the other schools without knowing where these district lines are going to be, because those lines are going to affect how long a child sits on the bus. And there's a whole bunch of logistics that really go into that, and the amount of time that a kid sits on the bus. And right now, some of the kids who even go to Center Street are on the bus for an hour and a half as it is. So if, the kids from Erin are going to Ridge Road, and then you have to move some kids from Ridge Road. So I think that this is something, since all of this is going to be taking place by 2025, parents really should know what's happening, have an idea what's happening. We really need to look out for the kids in this matter. How long are they going to be on the bus? What needs, what services are they going to need to have? This is affecting every single person in our community, especially kids, teachers who have been through to the end and back in the last 2 years. This is massive, and it's really difficult to not know what's happening. I mean, I live on Westlake Street. Where are my kids going to go? Like you would think it'd be Gardner Road, but the bids are coming in, and the 1 week it was told that what the people voted on was 6 classrooms in Big Flats, 10 Gardner, 12 Ridge, but now they're saying, no, it could be potentially 10 to each building. The redistribution, parents need to know what's going on, because it's not okay to say, oh, and by the way, your kid's going to be on the bus for longer, and now your daycare is in with Gardner, and sorry you're not at Gardner and you're at Ridge now, but we're not going to bus your kid to your daycare, and the daycares, is so hard to find. Like, all of this stuff has so many moving parts, and I don't think that there's enough conversation going on about this. It's massive. I know we need to have updates and upgrades and that people voted, but it affects so many people on such a big level that I just feel like I'm way too in the dark. And so I'm hoping for the board to be able to publish something very quickly in the near future about all of this, because I think people deserve to know, especially bus drivers, right? As a former bus driver, everything's going to change for you. So I think it's important.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to?
Yes, we'll go through your room. Hi, I'm Sue Leversky, 523 Hatfield Street, Horseheads, New York. My question is, I have 2 things. I put a FOIL in on March 12th. I sent another message on March 20th, received a message March 21st, that I would have to respond in a few days. It's now April 19th, and I still have no response. So I would like to know when I'm going to get the response, because I've sent a few FOILs in and have gotten 0 responses. I have a copy if you need a copy of it, but I think Mr. Filippo has a copy too. Okay, the other things are budget issues. In 2017-18, we had a $74 million budget with approximately 4,000 students. 5 years later, we have almost a $93 million budget. I don't know how many students there are. The students are going down, but we're adding. And do we really need to be adding administration? Are we taking care of the children and all that they need? Do we have enough teaching assistants? I know we've added some of those things in the budget, but I feel sometimes in the organizations, are we getting too top-heavy by adding more people, and should we be looking what really needs to be done down with the elementary children, etc. And my other question is, I've attended a few board meetings, but I've never seen a balance for the fund balance. I know, you must know a balance of the fund balance. So I would like that too. Okay? Do I have to send a list of my questions to Dr. Douglas to get a
No,
response?
it's on the tape.
Okay. Huh?
It's on the tape.
Okay, okay.
Or you can also give it to Mrs. Clark.
I can hear you.
You can give it to Mrs. Clark as well.
I'll wait till I read this. I'll send it to you. She might not be able to understand all the script.
No problem.
Is there anybody else?
I understand.
My name is Kara Sheehan. I currently I live at 840 Uncle Ave, and I am moving to 129 North Barrington in Horseheads. I'm here to discuss modified baseball. Top reasons why kids stop playing sports. The first paragraph I'm going to read is a baseball article written by the NCAA baseball coach or a coach. A baseball career can end at any time for any number of reasons. Baseball is not for everyone. Baseball is a difficult game to play well, and you cannot hide from your deficiencies. The game can be very embarrassing, yet humbling. The ball will find you. This is not soccer where you get lost in the pile. In baseball, the spotlight is on you. You have to be able to throw, catch, and hit to survive. Providing a quality player, friend, and appropriate development system does not just happen. It takes education, it takes time and dedication to learn the proper approaches. And what is the number one reason why kids quit? The lack of playing time. Next paragraph. I have some questions about our newly formed modified baseball yesterday, so my husband James and I met with the athletic director. He explained the reason for letting more kids play and forming 2 teams. It's important, he said, to give the kids the opportunity to have a chance to play baseball. I agree with giving kids opportunities in life. I also agree with life lessons, which can sometimes be tough when you don't make a team. In past years, there's been intramural or club teams. Why not this option? By doing this, instead of making 2 equal teams, if you have 2 equal teams, it takes away all competitive aspects. During our meeting, it was also mentioned it was the school board that approved and decided this new approach, which is why I'm here. To be fair, I'm not the only baseball parent with concerns, as you can see. However, I feel comfortable telling you that the reality of the current experiment with our children isn't working. Kids don't get enough opportunity to touch the ball and be in the position in the field in practices or in a game. There are 2 teams with equal talent, and there are 16 to 17 kids on these 2 teams, which is really enough to make 3 teams. According to stat rules, each player has to bat once and play in the field for 2 innings. I feel so bad for these coaches trying to juggle all of this. It's hard enough for the kids trying to get into a rhythm. Modified kids will only play half of the games that they played last year. Yesterday, our son's team had a game, and they barely had enough pitchers to get through 1 game. Now the other team has to play tomorrow, and from what I hear, there's less pitchers. How is this fair to any of our children? The program started practices on March 27th, and I'm watching baseball bands, so the kids on the other team had bands to wear for their game tomorrow, late last night. What an unfortunate, poorly planned out season for our modified players. I hope you take these sports decisions into consideration for upcoming seasons.
Thank you.
My name is Christopher J. Cady. I live at 132 Kennedy Drive. This is in reference to Horseheads modified baseball. There's currently 2 teams that have been developed. They've been assigned. The players have been part of the teams. I have been a coach for a Little League. I've assisted coaching as well as assistant Bay group. Currently, all the players have started the bonding process. Baseball is not just a team sport. It's supposed to help develop the children as well as help develop their skill sets. Some students have been polled and said that they could be moved to another team after a team's been assigned, which is unfair in that process. And there's now another evaluation after they've played their first game already. The white team will be playing tomorrow. So you're reassigning different players to different teams after games have already started, have already played, and they've already played against, right now, it would be Elmira as well as it's going to be Ithaca. The fairness for those students to be moved from other teams, that bonds have already been created, positions have already been developed, and the movement forward to develop their skills is going to be poorly conditioned going forward.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Thank you.
I'll respond to a couple things just real quick. Sue, just contact Caitlin DeFilippo with the foil, just because we have multiple foils that have come in and we're taking them in order, and one is a huge purchasing order, so that's what she's doing. But she'll reach out to you and give you the projected timeline, which is the requirement.
I did the second time.
Okay, then, like I said, this is not a back and forth. That's who you talk to, just give her a call tomorrow. In regards to Katrina, I know we had talked today with the parent council and so forth. The district has been going through over 5 years of this discussion, and I want to correct the one thing that I said today, like the December 7th, 2019, it was December 7th, 2021, after the schools were fully reopened, not during the COVID time. So I always try to make sure I get the right information, because I know some parents thought it was the 19th as well. All that information has been talked about at numerous contractors, construction, board presentations regularly. They're actually, I think, on the archives of the video. You go back at any time and find them. As far as the teachers, we care about them all as well. We do not, as we've said, we do not believe that there will be any reductions, but there will be reassignments. But that is governed by the wonderful people here tonight with the HTA, because we have a contract that says we have to follow certain protocols, and we have been having discussions. We will take care of the teaching staff at Center Street and across the district. But that's going to be a process that has to be applied equally for all access at the time right before the 2025 shift. And that's known, no matter what, because if you have an open position, you got to make it available to anybody in the district that may wish to take that position. We will give some deference in trying to make sure that as we're reassigning the students by the border boundaries of the new 3 schools, that we would try to make sure that there's representation, if possible, from Center Street at each of the schools, so that those students in the first transition have people that they know and are familiar with as well. But that's a process that's going to be developed. We were going to bring tonight the sort of busing and demographics, but we're trying to work out the final contracts. We have the selections that will be at the next meeting, and then we'll go forward on that. And just trying busing, that you brought up a good part. We're looking at 2 options, a 2-tier busing, which we have right now, which is elementary, which is like K through 6. We have one that's 7 through 8. That's the 2-tier, what we currently do. There's the possibility that we can also look K through 4, 5 through 8, as well as 9 through 12. And because that is considered what's known as a 3-tier, the most efficient, we're probably setting the goal that we try to transport every student within an hour, even if it has some increased busing. And we're always concerned, but we don't know until we do the study and see if we can do that.
So that it's the study people making the lines, or is the board drawing the lines?
The board will get the report from the study, work with them, and then eventually it will be presented once it's closer to the public, and there will be an open public session on it. But then ultimately the board sets that by policy. Okay? But this isn't a question. You're welcome to contact my office. We aren't having question and answers. This is the board. And like I said, just give me a call and I'll answer your questions with no problem. Or come on over, we'll sit down and chat with those. As far as, I'm just trying to make sure I hit each one as much as I can. As far as fund balance, every year we do a fund balance projection. This budget, this board, this past boards, ever since I've been here, we have actually gotten the best comptroller reports on audits because we post them every year. Everything we do here is online and public document that you can see that. But we will be having that coming up, I believe, that's not tonight, but at the public hearing as well, or at the June meeting for fund balance and reserves.
I can speak to your current levels.
Yeah, and she can speak to that tonight, so I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just those things. A lot of our budgets are done, and if you don't have the opportunity to come here, always we put it online so that you can check at home, and we try to make it as convenient, and we do all board meetings that way. As far as fund balance, budget issues, I can speak to top heavy. We're one of the administrative least heavy districts in the entire region. When you look at Horseheads, Elmira, and the reason the budget has gone up by that 7, I think I came in at 78, I think it's like what you said, and it's like 93 at this point. That's the construction, but we're also getting aid on that, and we're also going to have our contracts, our budget, our year-to-year costs this year, you'll see are 6%. Across the district, they're ranging between 4 and 18% year-to-year cost increases in the budget. And that's a lot because of supplies, resources, and labor. no matter what. This is not on any individual labor, it's just the natural fact of that, and the budgets are going to increase. This board has been very good, and I think if you stick around and see the whole thing, we've lowered taxes in the 8 years that I've been here. This board has been very conscious about that, and the value of your properties have gone up, and that's a good thing. We are going to be showing, because the board asked, I think a couple weeks ago, I think Katie's going to be showing all the ads we've made over the past 8 years. And I think without 3 years knowing what it was, they were already at $2.4 million of ads. Most of it is on the instructional, operational side. There is some on the office service side where we brought it back from BOCES, but you'll see that in our budget presentation. As far as baseball, I'm going to let Charles Dete answer your question. But it's not a back and forth. He's going to tell you what we're doing, why, and what has precipitated some of his requirements at this point because of actions of others within our program that did not, and I repeat, did not follow an administrative discussion at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, thank you. So first off, parents, thank you. You're a big part of athletics. We appreciate your opinion, and you are heard, and thank you for sharing your opinion. Modified baseball this year, we have 34 young boys involved in our baseball program. We've talked many times about increasing participation because of the positive impact of athletics, and we've done that. Not just in baseball, but in softball, basketball, we've done it in many sports. That's our goal, to impact as many as we can, and we've done that. This process, I want to first clarify the timeline a little bit. They started on the 27th of March. They had 1 full week of tryouts, and then they had spring break. Last week, on Wednesday, teams were formed. So we've had 2 teams for 7 days, including today, 7 full days. The teams were developed using the tryout rubric. The tryout rubric involved 5 categories. 3 of those categories were fitness related, how fast you can run home to first, push-ups, things of that nature. And 2 of them were skill related, fielding and hitting. My coaches were instructed to make 2 even teams. When they made the teams, they used an overall score. That overall score included those fitness categories. And using those scores, they made 2 even teams. They did exactly as I instructed, but they included those fitness categories. How fast someone runs from home to first is important, but it doesn't make a difference when it comes to skill. I looked at the data. I noticed this by going to practices, talking to coaches. And all of our coaches, by the way, were involved in the tryouts, not just 2 modified coaches by themselves. We had varsity level coaches, JV level coaches, and myself showed up to tryouts as well. Once these teams were formed, I quickly noticed that there was an issue. These teams did not seem even to me. And I looked at the data closely, and I noticed what they did. I pulled out just the skill scores, and I did. And these teams are uneven. When I say 8 out of the top 10 players in our program are on one team, that's true. And that's based on skill alone. So our teams are split up based on the wrong number, and I'm going to adjust that. And the reason I'm going to adjust that is because in basketball, we did not. In basketball, we had a very skilled team, and we had a developmental team. And some people didn't like that. But the outcomes of our basketball program in modified levels were lopsided. And we talked about a lot of different aspects of winning and losing. And modified level is not about winning and losing. It's really not. It's about growth in practice. And our kids are going to get growth in practice. No matter what teams they're on, they will get growth in practice. Not only as players, but they're going to learn all the different skills that come along with it. If you're playing with someone who's at a lower level, you got to become a leader. You got to guide them. If you're playing with someone who's above you, you learn from them. There's different skills that are learned at the modified level that are more important than winning and losing on the baseball field. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to create 2 even teams. This week, we have created a schedule where I can get eyes on them. Yes, we are allowing those 2 teams to play games because we can assess and we can see that in a game. So we are using that data as well. Saturday, we're having inter-squad scrimmage. I'm having more eyes on it. I'm going to have JV level coaches there. Varsity would be there, but they have an away game. But there's going to be eyes on it, and we're going to make 2 even teams because that's what's best for the kids. And 34 kids in our program, I'm proudest to be to have that many kids that are learning from us. But that is where we stand. And in terms of coaching, we got 2 new coaches. One of them's a phys ed teacher here, a very young, energetic, good quality coach who's still learning, got a way to go. And then we have a new coach that is raw in talent and needs to kind of learn a little bit more as he goes. But he's a great individual, and he had a great interview, and he's going to do really well. But we're trying to support them by getting volunteer coaches. I've had 4 people reach out to be volunteer coaches. All of them have backed out of that situation and don't want to be part of that. So we are trying to add as much help as we can. If I have to move some of my upper level coaches to come down and help out, I will. But the plan is to make 2 even teams with the correct way, and that's a little background on why that happens.
And so the board knows with the volunteer coaches, because I still have that emergency authorization as long as they meet, I was going to go ahead and go through our regular process and appoint them. This is the first I'm hearing that they've all backed out, but they were individuals that were parents on the teams, and we were going to just make sure that they're able to work with kids, which I'm thinking they are, and then we were going to try to assist that program because we appreciate their help. The big thing is 2 questions I have because it came up, pants.
Yes, I'm going to address pants, which I'm so happy.
I'm not aware of that.
So we ordered 40 pants months ago. They arrived. We looked at them. They had boy sizes, 60 or more boy sizes, and they had adult sizes. I picked up an adult small. It was bigger than my legs. We couldn't use it. So we sent them back. We ordered 24 boy sizes, and they came in today. So those are actually going to go to the other team. We did have a plan in place to make sure both our teams had pants.
So do the parents know whoever's got the pants and are washing them?
Not yet. They literally came in today at 2:30, and you know how the high school was. So we had a little situation. So they will get out. They will get out to Coach Baker, and they will make sure those kids have it. But that's the pants situation.
Okay.
Not that I can do with that.
Fields.
Fields, yeah. It's another opportunity. Again, I'm hearing the parents talk about repetitions and getting opportunity. If you go to some of those practices during tryouts or even Monday through Wednesday, we had all the kids on the field at once. We had 33 kids out there. That's really difficult to manage with 2 people, but it also does slow down repetitions. What we were able to do this week was secure another field. The town of Big Flats is going to give us a field to use. So we will have both teams at different fields. That'll cut it down to 16 or 17 in their practice, much more manageable, increase in repetitions. So again, we're doing everything we can to make sure our teams have what they need and to grow, again, as players, but also we want them to be better leaders. We want them to grow as people as well, and that's the mission of our athletic program.
And you did forget, did this program have cuts? I think it started out at 42, and it ended up being at 34?
Yes, we did have cuts, yes we did. And those individuals were cut, but they were given information to join Babe Ruth and to continue their baseball pursuit, if that's what they wish.
And address playing time, because that was her.
Yeah, playing time, there are rules at the stack level. It's not easy, but that's modified. And honestly, the games, they are important to an extent. You get the experience, and those rules are going to impact the amount of time we play. But that's what we have to live with, and that's what we have to deal with. But our coaches are equipped to have good rotations, make sure kids are getting playing time. And
Modified still has sort of like Little League rules where they have to get so much playing time.
yes, correct. They have to play 2 innings in the field. They have
And it's not AAU
one
where they
at
get to do whatever they want.
No, right.
Anything else for the board?
No, just thank you for the support. We are meeting the mission that we chose out to do, which is provide opportunities for kids. And that's exactly what we're doing. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Charles.
So I think I covered most. If not, just give my honest comment.
All right, moving on to Tatiana.
Good evening, members of the board and the Lizette community. I am Tatiana Kopp, and welcome to the student representative report of today's meeting. I hope you all had as wonderful of a start to your spring as the Lizette High School did. Yesterday, our varsity boys lacrosse team played an incredible game against Binghamton, winning with a score of 15-1. Their next game will be held at Webster High School this Saturday. Please consider coming out to support all of our terrific athletes, and we wish them the best of luck as they continue to thrive throughout their season. The Horseheads Blue Raider Marching Ensemble performed at the Main Street Disney Parade in Disney World on April 4th. They played an excerpt from the song Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon and represented Horsehead wonderfully in the most magical place on earth. Our YAC members, as well as Mr. McAllis, Ms. Crozier, and Dr. Tempest, participated in the Ithaca Polar Plunge on March 25th. In doing so, they raised $1,150 for our unified riggers. We cannot thank you enough for your continual commitment to your schools. Way to make us proud. The senior class will be hosting their senior prom on May 20th. The theme is La Nuit en Rose, a Parisian approach on the idea of seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. Tickets can be purchased through the remainder of this week during lunch periods, and we look forward to seeing you for a magical night. The Green Room Players thanks you for your continual support as they finish off their musical season. Their spring musical, The Little Mermaid, grossed more in ticket revenues than any musical in its 50-year history, which is a monumental achievement. Horsehead's Choirs held a beautiful tribute concert for their former choir teacher, Chuck Griffith, on March 28th. It was a touching celebration of love that will forever be remembered in Horsehead's high school history, and we thank all of you who joined us in attendance. Additionally, Horsehead's Choirs announced that their 2023 Pops concert theme will be a night at the movies, featuring songs from film and cinema. Come out for a fun-filled night of music on June 10th at 6 p.m. with more information to come. I would like to express my utmost gratitude to Mario Ruggiero for providing beautiful reports in the past 2 months while I was unable to be in attendance. He really did such a wonderful job, and I am absolutely overjoyed to have the pleasure of attending these meetings once again. That is the conclusion of my report, and I hope you all have a marvelous night. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and welcome back. And I did have the honor of seeing Tatiana and her extreme amount of talent in The Little Mermaid. So you did a wonderful job. Beautiful voice. You're funny as anything. So she's really good. And I knew exactly who you were when you got on stage.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate it. So very, very good. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to our presentations, we have our budget discussion presentation.
Yeah, we're seeing the presentation.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we started in, I think, the second week of February, like we always do. We go through the budget, and unfortunately, the state budget is not done, but we know that our numbers are the best they can be, and unless they throw a curveball, our numbers are the numbers that they have told us, and that's what we've been told by our state organizations to move forward. So tonight, you'll see the culmination of that process that you sort of ended on the 13th by giving us the direction. We have met all of the requirements that you asked, and we will go through that budget and then also bring up some information, and I will round out the budget to round out the process. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Ms. Katie Gazette.
Good evening, everyone. Since Dr. Douglas said, we're going to wrap up all the work that the board has done over the course of the process since February. Projected stating, as Dr. Douglas said, the final budget has not been released, so these are particularly in relation to the foundation aid, the numbers as we know them. It does include that 175% set aside that's still kind of up in the air at this point, but we do have a plan in place for either scenario, whether that set aside stands or whether or not it's released for general purpose. So overall, our state aid is increasing by $2.4 million. Tax levy limit, we've talked about this several times over the process. Misnomer, I'll say the 2% tax cap, that relates specifically to that allowable rate of inflation. We are capped at 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. At the time, the 2% was set for the school district's inflation was actually 8%, but we are capped at 2%. This is the formula as written by the law we're required to follow. You'll see that highlighted section in yellow. That's the 2% that the name 2% tax cap refers to. The tax cap calculation allows for capital exclusion. This is the calculation that takes all of our capital expenditures, such as our capital debt, our bus debt, things of that nature, offsets by the anticipated aid to be received to offset those costs, and it becomes an addition to the tax cap calculation. Since we last met, we had that conversation about whether or not we're going to use the debt service fund to bring down the levy and subsequently bring down the tax rate. This calculation does include $700,000 from our debt service fund. The purpose of the debt service fund is, exactly as what we're saying now. Any fluctuations in what our debt owed is, any fluctuations in the building aid, we can use that as a tool to level things out. So we've opted to use $700,000. It's up slightly from the $630,000 that we've used in the years past, but it's still in the ballpark of what we have, while being mindful of that impact in the future year calculations. So with all that, the allowable levy change is just under $2 million or 4.66%. Again, I just want to stress that that 4.66% is the maximum allowable under the calculation of the tax cap, incorporating that 2% that allowable by law. So I have been working with the county, communicating back and forth with them to get updated information. I did get some since we last met. I did get updated assessments. I got additional information regarding some equalization rates, projected equalization rates, and we're able to revamp the calculation, one with that new assessment information, and two with the decrease in the tax levy with the use of the debt service. So at this point, based on the information as we know it today, again, it's preliminary. This is all settled over the summer. Estimating a full value tax rate change of 2.73% up to $6.48 or $44 per $100,000 home. Sorry.
I know I usually put in here.
Okay. All right, let's keep going. This is a slide we like to show over the years during the budget process to show that relationship between the levy increase and the tax rate change. We've historically had levy increases as we support our budget. It's one of our primary revenue sources. But as you can see over the years that we've enjoyed some decreases in our actual tax rate. Summary budgeted revenues. This encompasses all the discussions we've had over the course of the budget development process to incorporate all the changes that we made, all the adjustments that we've made. It does include additional reserves by $350,000 more, as we discussed at the last meeting. Use of that $700,000 in the debt service fund and maintaining the use of the $1 million fund balance in the budget. So revenue sources all total $93 million, or just shy of $94 million, an increase of 5.4. Summary of budget expenditures is the flip side of the equation. Again, encompasses all the pieces that we've talked about over the course of budget development. It maintains, it includes all of our contractual obligations. It includes our mandatory debt service payments. It includes things like the increase in our escrow services, things of that nature. So all told, our budget increase is $5.4 million, or 6.12%. I did want to share some information we shared with our counterparts in the region as far as what's everybody doing, what's your budget increase look like. And I can say that we are in the ballpark with a variety of our neighbors, both in Chemung County and other counties. The range of the information I have is between 3% and 13%, with the majority of the school districts falling right in that 6 to 8%. So right on target. We're living through inflation like everybody else. This is a snapshot of our reserve balances. It shows as of 6/30 when we closed the books last year, and as of March 31st. That shows some usage. For example, in our ERS reserve, we allocate that payment when we make that payment to ERS in December. So you'll see some fluctuations there. So this is, so as of 6/30/22, we had $8.3 million in our restricted fund balance. Restricted fund balance means it's money set aside in certain pockets for a specific purpose. It's restricted for that purpose. We also have appropriated fund balance. That's the $1 million that we incorporate within our budget. And we also have unassigned fund balance of around $3.5 million. Unassigned fund balance is the amount of money that the school districts are allowed to save, not allocated for any particular purpose. We're allowed to maintain up to 4% of our unassigned fund balance, and the districts have been able to maintain that
So you've seen sort of the formulation of the budget. I also believe that hit the reserve question. That's where we're at right now. We also have a debt service reserve, which you saw up there as well, which has been something that has been being used and also used on behalf of our local tax base and our taxpayers to control those fluctuations. The big thing is this budget is the 2% tax cap levy limit and only requires a 50% plus one majority vote for approval. This is exactly what the governor put in and meant by school districts should be doing this each year. So we are not at a tax challenging, we're doing sort of what the expectations were from the state. In addition, throughout the budget process, we've had discussions, but throughout this budget, what it includes everything that we currently do, what we put in. Our philosophies, our programs, our athletics, our academics, and our arts, the 3As, which are really the heart and soul of what we do. In addition, the board has asked us to address safety. We have one school resource officer at each instructional building, 6 total. After a day like today, where just rumors abound and it was passed along and there was no credibility to it, which we go by our local law enforcement, whether it's the sheriffs, the state troopers, they tell us which way to go unless there is an absolute emergent situation in live court. So we acted according to what our SROs, and it's because we have those SROs that we have a heightened sense of security as well as a compilation that when something happens, we have other resources that a lot of schools don't have, and that's courtesy of this community, the Horseheads Village, and I know the response from the state troopers and the sheriffs for Chemung County. So what happens is that's in this budget now. What it also is 2 additional intervention support teachers, one funded with our general funds, that's instructional with the HDA, and one will be funded with our federal funds, and we try to make sure we develop internal submission plan over the years to bring that on board in the future budget. These are interventions where we've spent a lot of time on reading ELA, especially coming out of the pandemic, where we're starting to make a pivot towards interventions in math as well. So that's a new area that we're going down. In addition, we're continuing on with our 4 additional teaching assistants at the primary level. And like we said, in the future budgets, we're trying to add roughly 4 a year for the next 2 to 3 years. And hopefully that will put us on line with some of our other big schools with what we do at the primary level for the instructional staff, and also trying to make sure there's more eyes in the room and some of the issues that will help instruction, supervision, and support. In addition, an additional instructional coach. Some people think this is administrative. This is actually an HTA teaching position, and the other ones that we have are absolutely teaching positions as well. These are to support our instructional areas in the math right now, currently in ELA and math. And I believe we're bringing this one on for science. Trade-off, and this is a BOCES program, and eventually we will bring it back from BOCES because we will get more service for the dollar that we have. And that's what we've done in the past, where we do a cost-benefit analysis. Do we get more if we bring them in-house? And that's something the business office has done, and that's what we've done in the past 6-7 years. In addition, additional floating bus monitor, as you know, as we start to make the transition, we're going to have to start to address busing, bus monitors, bus positions, maybe buses, maybe routes. But the biggest thing we're going to have to address, according to the state, is electronic busing. The EV trend, we are not, and I want the public really to know that, we are not purchasing any electric vehicles at this point. The information and regulations are out there, the costs are prohibitive, and honestly, if we start to make this switch without the state fully committing to funding it, I believe the busing will go down, and if we don't have the buses, we won't be able to transport the kids. But we're waiting for guidance from the state. Ours are absolutely the way we've always done it, and we are shifting to not diesel buses, but gas-powered buses because they're more efficient at this point. And we will have to, as a board and a district, follow the state requirements and regulations. It's not an option. We just are asking them, if you're going to put it on the local tax base, make sure you pay for it up front first. And that's where the rub is. So until they tell us what we're doing, we're continuing on our path, which I think that's what the board has asked us to do. We've added a director of instruction. One primarily is because we only have 2 people and the instructional coaches that are working with our staff, and we have a lot of work to do, especially with the potential of closing an elementary school and repositioning. The board has spoken about that and had those discussions and have noticed all the work we do in curriculum instruction. And this is one of the few administrative acts over 8 years that has ever really been put up on the budget. But this is something that's going to first directly work with our elementary repositioning. That's what we've talked about. And then we will merge it for the entire operations of the district under Tony Hill. In addition, we do have a long-time business person. She's probably the second longest person in the area, next to Olga Artimo, who's got going on 55 years of teaching. And we have Mary Ann Bly, who I think is going on 45 years in the business office or something close to it. And she has 1 or 2 years, she said, I'm getting ready to leave. There's a wealth of knowledge in that position that an office accountant coming in and just doing a swap over of a 2 or 3 week in the summer could put the district in some potential jeopardy. So we have talked about this over the past 2 years. We feel now that we know we're within a 2 year window, we need to make sure we have that succession planning. So this is a temporary thing that once that goes on, we reevaluate whether we need 2 positions or 1 and making sure that we're okay with that because we have an outstanding business office record, both in district, in the area, and certified by our internal, external auditor, as well as the Office of the Comptroller, which in 2015, this district was written up several times by the Comptroller, and we've corrected all of that in that time, largely because of Katie and the work that our whole team does. So that's what's in our budget, plus this continues the sustainability planning of our federal funded positions, social workers, reading teachers, intervention teachers, teaching assistants, intermediate schools, our LPNs, things that we sort of brought in during COVID, and we are still trying to keep that sustainability. We've always said we're trying to stay as staff strong as possible to do the work of the community, and we've always tried to make sure that we maintain the fiscal responsibility, and I think as the chart has shown, we have lowered the tax rate for the district from 1830 to down to 1604, probably overcorrected last year. With this, roughly about 44 on the high end, because we know that whatever Katie proposes for that assessment, it usually comes in lower. So we don't know how much because she has taken it right up to the line with the assessment data that she has been able to glean from our county-wide assessment team. And that will not be finalized until August, so that data won't be available until then. But our track record speaks for itself. For the past 6 years, you saw every time we've done projection, it's been lower, and sometimes substantially lower. So that is what the budget includes. Do you have the next list? Or? Yeah.
So as Dr. Douglas mentioned earlier, we did go through the exercise of looking back at previous budgets back to 16-17 to look at what are the ads that we've been incorporating into our budget over these years. So this first slide, it goes back to 2016 and includes all the proposed additions that we're making for 23-24. This is the list of all the instructional related items we have added beginning in the 2016-17 school year. There's a variety of different teaching positions, there's different equipment, the reinstitution of various programs like fourth grade swim and intramurals. We look at things like instruments, calculator replacements, playground upgrades, and the first column is a host of different teaching positions. We've also added or increased some extracurricular areas. Like intramurals, we've added some modifying teams in the areas of basketball and volleyball. We've incorporated money for athletics uniforms. We, in 1 year, did a review of variety of stipends, and there were 14 that were incorporated in a budget in 1 year that either increased existing stipends based on work being done or they were new additions. We added an intermediate school student council advisor, and we instituted a pilot program last year, or current year, for girls wrestling and flag football.
Which are now state level sponsored sports.
So this list of addition is either something we've classified as operational, another column, or thoughts on right is HCSD BOCEs. So on the operational side, things like truck replacements, we now have cyber liability insurance, we've added school resource officers, cleaners, building maintenance mechanics, the nurse practitioner has been a strong add for the district. The snow spray for the bus garage has been very successful. And then as far as BOCEs, we've increased our tech support. We have 1 year increased our math curriculum mentor, some programmatic services for students for the addition of high school alternative education slots, the P-TECH slots, and the middle school alternative ed, which is new to this year. And then lastly, our administrative ads going back to 16-17. The first 4 were actually services provided by BOCEs, and the district made the decision to bring back in-house. So we have full-time service with not having to share with another district. So that was the business administrator position, the director of technology, the grant supervisor, and the entire business office from the CBO.
Just as an example for the board, we pay around $800,000 to $900,000 for BOCEs for our business office. I think we brought it in for about $668 because we get 800. That's why. And it was a wash. We got 1 extra year of aid, and here's the big thing. The people that we brought back, we get 5 days a week, where before we didn't do it. And we've had less problems with our payroll, paychecks, purchasing, our claims audit has gone down. So we look at where the value added is for the district and the people to the benefit.
And then the other ads are the accountant, Dr. Douglas just talked about. We added an assistant principal position several years ago, clerical position for our technology department, and the director of instruction that we also talked about tonight. And then just for reference, we just went through a lot of ads. 2 things I want to note. One, the tax rate. So beginning in the 16-17 year, you'll see the rate went down from the previous year to 15-16. And we've had several years over the course of that period where the rate has gone down. And that's due to, one, being mindful about these additions that we've done. It's not necessarily an ad to add. We're mindful of what those ads are, and we're mindful of how we pay for them. My job is to look at the budget and, where are the other opportunities? Are we not using this as much and we can use it over here better? Or reviewing trends. We're not really spending money at this point, or we can reallocate it for another purpose. One thing that's nice about the one-shot equipment type items is we can repurpose that money year over year. So 1 year we could use those monies for calculators, and then another year we can use them for some other instructional equipment. You can keep repurposing that same money without adding additional funds.
What Katie has said is true, but really this shows, look at with my work with the board's work over these years, and some have been on board, some have gotten off. I don't blame you. It's a thankless job at times. I mean, you get great pay raises every year. But when you look at it, 1804, when I came in, it was actually 1830 the year before. I always claim that. But if you look at it, we have done $225 million in project approvals. We have added probably well over $3 to $4 million in those positions and programs. And that's not all of them. Remember the evisceration of 2012. Some people remember the evisceration back in 1995. This has been a rebuilding for the district and a renovation for the district. But look at 1804. And yes, we went back up to 1804. Never went past it. We're at 1604 right now. In 7 to 8 years. I'm very proud of you giving me as the CEO of this district the opportunity to do what you've tasked me with, to meet your challenges and meet your desires for the benefit of our students, our district. And look, this is your accomplishment. We have been able to increase our program, lower our tax rate, increase the value of the district for all of our taxpayers, and we have started to pretty much come to the end of rebuilding what was lost. Just the initial total, when you started seeing, I was already up to 64 positions just on the instructional support staff. And that's not all, and we're going to continue, like I said. Staff and support strong, as much as possible. And then when the difficult times come, we will have to make difficult decisions. But right now, we've been able to add to our educational program, our academics, athletics, and extracurriculars. We've added to music. We've added to art. We've added our department chairs back, which do the bulk of the hard work of curriculum. All of those positions were gone, and now they're back, and our tax rate is still almost $2 full $1.50 to $1.56 lower than what it was 8 years ago. That's your accomplishments for the entire Orsett community. And we hope that, you see this budget as exactly what you asked us to do. And we hope that the community sees that this is the way. I can't tell you another district in this area that has that record of what this board has or what we've done as an administration, my team, my staff, the instructional staff, support staff, bus drivers, secretaries, every single position has helped to get us to this point, and we're going to continue doing this and try to get the rest of the project done as fiscally responsible as possible, which has been important desire. That pretty much is our budget at this point. So therefore, the 23-24 budget vote, Board of Education, proposition number 1, adoption of the 22-23 budget. Shall the proposed budget of the Orsett Central School District for 2023-2024 in the amount of $93,884,722 be approved in accordance with section 2022 of the Education Law, and that the balance of said budget after applying public monies thereto be raised by a tax upon the taxable property of said district. That's the legal requirement. That's a yes or no vote by the residents of the district. Proposition 2 will be put up on the same date. Purchase of buses. Shall the Board of Education of the Orsett Central School District be authorized to 1, acquire school buses at a maximum aggregate cost of $1.6 million. 2, expend such sum for such purpose. 3, levy the necessary tax therefore to be levied and collected in the annual installment in such years and in such amount that may be determined by the Board of Education, taking into account state aid. And 4, in anticipation of the collection of such tax, issue bonds and notes of the district at one time or from time to time in the principal amount not to exceed $1.6 million and levy a tax to pay the interest on said obligations when due. It is important to note these are not electric vehicles. These are gasoline buses or regular vehicles you see on the roadway. In addition, because we are already in a 5-year cycle of aid, this is virtually covered by state aid with nominal cost to the budget. And that is the best way to do it. Even though it says levy taxes, a lot of this is being levied from state reimbursement, which transportation is at 100% aid. In addition to those 2 propositions, we have 3 seats or members of the board that are up in this year. I think that's Mr. Casey, Mr. Lynch, and Mr. Conklin. Vote for up to members of the Board of Education, vote for up to 3, or write in the name of someone else that you would like on the school board. Candidates in the order their name will appear on the ballot from a blind draw. In ballot position first, Asfar Azi Faruqi. Ballot position second, Brian Lynch. Ballot position third, Warren Conklin. Ballot position 4, Katrina Unvarsky. Ballot position 5, Susan Unvarsky. And ballot position 6, Anna Chabot. There will be a candidates forum on Thursday, May 9th. You can look at our website for any potential submission of questions that could be potentially asked. We will say that we've already asked Tatiana Kopp and Mario Ruggiero to be the MCs for the night, which we've always had when we had a candidates forum. And that forum will be in the high school auditorium. It will also be taped so that people will be put up on our website just like we do. We have a round-robin approach. We roughly allow an hour to an hour and 20 minutes at the most for the entire evening. We have some set questions that we ask every year, either through League of Women Voters that we're used to do it, that we'll have, and we will take questions on that night. They have to be about the district policies, not about individuals or identifying sort of the same board rules. It will not be a board meeting night, but that is a meeting of the district for this purpose.
Sorry to interrupt, Dr. Owens, but May 9th is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh,
So is it May 9th or is it Thursday, May 11th?
It's Tuesday,
Sorry, Tuesday.
Sorry, that's typo. So we will correct that on the presentation and put it Tuesday, May 9th. Apologize. That's 6 p.m. Any questions or discussion from the board on what we present? Mr. Gunn. Okay.
So on the bus proposition, how many buses do you anticipate 1.6 million will buy?
It was in the budget presentation. I'm just trying to
It
remember.
was 7.
7 buses. Was there any small buses?
1 microbird.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that will be in our district newsletter that we're obligated to send out to all residents in the district within the mandatory timeline. I imagine Sue will be getting hard to work on that once the budget is adopted tomorrow.
Thank you.
Ms. Butler?
2 questions. So, I don't understand why we're not doing the bus purchase as part of the regular budget, and why are those 2 things pulled apart?
It is actually required by separate, it's not part of the budget, it is a separate part, and it rolls in to your regular purchasing, but it's a requirement by state law.
Okay, perfect.
And body.
And then when you were talking about unrestricted funds, how are those used? That's a small pool?
I would not think.
Okay, I'm just like wondering, I live in.
Sort of an
rural
emergency.
funds.
So that's unrestricted fund balance, it's really that, it's in case of emergency, something happens, we need to dip into some additional funds. We have not done that.
Okay,
Over
that
the
was my
years.
next question.
Yep. Yeah, so it's essentially not a savings account, but it's money available to the district.
If I can maybe give an example, my first year, second day on the job, we had a collapse in the pool because of a failure in a IV floor. The board had to take care of that. It was about a $300,000 expense. That's where we ended up doing emergency resolution. The pool is, Mike was here, he would say, we have a problem with the pool right now, and we've got to fix it. We're looking and evaluating it. It's because the pool is 70-something years old. It was never designed to last that long. That's in our 3rd project, but we're probably going to have to take care of the heating system because we're having some concerns. We've got engineers in now. We may have to come back to the board to look at that as possible. Mr. Lynch?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was good to see the list at the end what we've added the last few years. I think it's tremendous the amount of staff we've added, the amount of extracurriculars and the other items that we've added to keep our district really strong. One of the things that I've talked about over the years is there are ways to get more revenue into the district. One is to attract as many kids as possible. We are kind of like a business where if we get more kids in the district, then we get more state aid. And that's a win-win for everybody. We can keep building stronger, better, and it's good for the community, good for the parents, good for the kids, and good for the staff and everybody else. So I think you guys we've done a tremendous job doing that. We're lucky too, the student population is holding pretty steady at Horseheads, where most districts, particularly kind of north of here, they're dropping 3 to 5% yearly. And we've been a very, pretty darn steady the last 5 to 7 years here, which is remarkable. But I think a lot of it is we are doing some ads where a lot of people are cutting back. We have added $200+ million of building improvements here that are in process right now. And hopefully we can get the last project passed too in a few years. But I think it's all well worthwhile, and it's a huge benefit to the whole district. So thank you and the community.
And thank you for bringing that up, because I want to get back to a question you mentioned about earlier, because I just ringed in my head. Enrollment. We are not dropping enrollment. We are one of the few over the past 2 years that are starting to increase. We did drop as we went into COVID because a lot of people went to homeschool. They're actually coming back. Last year, I think we went up by 28 kids over the year to year. I think we're at 39.28 or 39.48, but we were down lower. This year, right now at Wednesday, we're up 69 students over last year. I think we're still at 58 over last year. So we are starting to see some increases, which nobody can predict, but that's hopefully what our demographics will also show with birth comparisons, moving, retail, and so forth. So thank you for bringing that up, because I totally forgot that, and I apologize that I forgot that. Mr. Chris?
Yeah, just a few comments. I first thank you to Katie for the presentation. It makes me
was thinking how Monday of this week was the Boston Marathon. It's sort of like, this is, every spring you do a budget marathon. This is kind of, you're in the last miles here, but I think you've done an excellent job putting together the presentation. I'm glad to see that the tax increase to the taxpayers from a levy perspective is less than 5%. I think that we
Remember when we were at 9?
Right. So I mean, there was a lot of work went into trying to find ways to preserve all the positions and the programs, in addition to adding, and we were able to do that with a reasonable use of reserves. When I look at slide 10 and I see our reserve position as of March 31st is only a couple $100,000 less. It's nearly $8 million, and it was 8.3 at the end of the last school year. So we're still preserving the financial security of the district while balancing the budget and preserving our programs and minimizing the burden on the taxpayers. So I'm very supportive of the budget, and I thank you for the work you put into it.
And that doesn't include our debt service reserve, that does the restricted. So we have a debt service that we will be using to manage. That's why we felt we could go up to 7.
Right.
But we also didn't want to inflate next year's levy because we used debt service this year to buy it down. And then what happens is it's planning. I mean, if we had to next year, we could use 600, 500, 400, and it still really wouldn't necessarily be in the debt service portion. Plus our unrestricted. So this district has a very solid reserve position to hopefully last well beyond my time after I go.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Adams.
Most of my fellow board members don't like repeating what the other board members say, but I don't mind repeating what I've said myself. And to that point, the last meeting we were at, 37.4% of the overall increase of this budget is directly attributed to debt service. So when we have to look at why the budget increased, or what I like to say is what I owe the explanation to taxpayers on why the budget is growing, a big portion, not all, but a significant portion of that is the debt service that's incumbent upon all the capital. That is a separate vote that is getting a supermajority in each case.
And it's being folded into our regular budget, which I forgot to hit on the 13th when you mentioned it, so I apologize for that. Remember, we're going to start getting more and more aid on this as we go too, which will be a revenue. And then ultimately, the boards of the past took care of the past. But eventually you had to start keeping up with the Joneses, and that's sort of what we did when we came in at the 17th. The biggest part about all of this is that we have to go to our tax base for the first time to start the first 15-year project. Then a second time for the 15-year project. And a third time, and we're doing it about every 5 years apart. The reason being is if we can get it 5 years apart, when that first 15-year matures, that money can be used now to fund additional upgrades, and we would target the upgrades to be at no additional cost to the taxpayers. And then the next 5 years, we have the second project that matures. And then the next 5, the third. And the big part about that is that cycle can go on for 35 to 50 years before it draws down. When I came in, and you know as board member, we hardly had any recycling of that, and there was no renovations. We will have another open house for phase 1 at the end, because the hallways are finally getting shiny, and they will finish up this summer. But you can see phase 2 has already taken place. I will tell you, Big Flats, you see on tonight, is moving forward. We had bid day on Garden Road today. It was a decent day. Still, we knew the challenges of everything with inflation and everything in the unknown. We will have to make some decisions on the intermediate middle school down the road, just because we're going to have to balance. But if we do it right, we might be able to do the third project and take care of that in a sort of seamless event. But we know today we have a project for Garden Road ready to start this summer too. We're doing the vetting, and we'll be bringing that probably to a special board meeting to get those contracts so that they can get started on Big Flats, Garden Road, and then our work is next focused on Ridge Road and probably the high school. And then we're postponing right now intermediate middle school until we know. We may do the schematics on that, but that's all about that debt service line. So thank you for pointing that out. Others?
I just want to add, again, I'll be a little bit repetitive of the other board members, but it is pretty impressive when you see that list of what has been accomplished over the past several years, and what's been added and what we've been able to either bring back to the district or add new to the district. So, you know, I don't know whose idea it was to put all that together. But
Dan Christmas's.
all right.
Was it?
I missed it.
I'll take that. I really know you just ran out of time at the last meeting.
It was 2 meetings, so, but I think that's great, and it's great to keep that list going, because it really shows us that we're continuing to move the district forward. And, you know, as Brian said, you know, we want to be able to continue to attract people that want to be able, you know, that want to move here. You know, when I moved here 15 years ago, it was because of the district. It wasn't because I liked the house that I looked at. It was because I wanted to live in the North Sense district with my kids. And so I think that's really important that you're doing that. So thank you. And you know, and Katie and your whole team, I mean, you just make magic every year. Especially, you know, it always looks so grim when we start looking at it in the beginning. And I used to get really nervous. I don't get nervous anymore because I know it's going to end up like this at the end when it's all said and done. So thank you very much. I think
She
you
gets
did a
nervous.
great job. I know she does. I can tell every time she's at that podium how nervous she is. But you always make it happen, and I think this is the best possible outcome. And I'm even, you know, you're always conservative, so I'm even more optimistic that when the rates come out in the summer, it's, you know, it's going to be even lower, right, for everybody, which will be fabulous.
And we watch, like, when you look at this, when we went to 1778 to 1754, and then we got to 1798, we started looking, and there were years with good years and bad years, and then right now, we're at 1604, but we're probably going to go up somewhere 1648 or somewhere in that area. So we'll take that into mind for the next year to try to balance it off, because we will go through an economic downturn. I think everybody is going to experience that for a while. But we also know that it might be short-lived, and that's all the best hope that we can. We do have, look at, you can see, finally that hotel on 86 open. That is unpackable. Oh, stamp fittings, we're building a huge plant. That's going to be fun. But we have things going on that Dairy Queen's coming. But we have things going on that are really helping our district with that. But we have to constantly be vigilant each year and treat with. So next year, we are not planning many ads except in those areas that we had already talked about. So others. Seeing no further questions, ladies and gentlemen, we have Thursday, May 4th, which will be the public hearing, 6 p.m., Multimedia Center. That is where the community can come out. The budget is done. They can make their comments for or against, or say they want something changed in the budget, but at that point, after tonight, it is too late. You have set the budget, and that is what goes forward. This is a statutory requirement that we must do. On Tuesday, May 9th, we got it right there. Board of Education Task Forum, 6 p.m. There will be one at Multimedia Center, again, hosted by Tatiana Kopp and Mario Ruggiero, and I'm sure all their families will come out as well. And then on Thursday, May 16th, we will have the budget vote, Board of Education election, high school South Gym, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. You must be a resident. You don't have to be a registered voter. It can be a renter, but you have to be able to, I believe, Sue, if I can say it right, you have to be 18 years of age. Live in the district at least 30 days prior to the vote. Correct. What else? Be a United States citizen. It's all on our newsletter. But anyone that lives in the district can vote. You do have to fill out an affidavit, or you can get the election roll so anybody can participate. If you work in the district, reside in the district, it's here. Our outside community comes in, and we will announce shortly, usually about 9:30, 9:40, the results of everything. So, and then we will have a board meeting, I think it's on Thursday, May 18th. So that concludes our presentation, the budget process. Is the board ready to proceed to approval of the 2023-2024 budget? I will bypass my report tonight. A lot of great things going on, but I will say a couple things just beforehand. Is that we had an issue today on safety and security. It was always forefront of our issue. If you're a high school parent, we received a note from our high school principal, Miss Earl, Usually when we send something out, we're already way past it. Usually when parents hear it, we're already way past it. Today, there was a rumor that there was a gun in the school. There was no gun. We have our SROs. We have other people actually questioning the individuals. From what we understand, the students having a conversation that they owned a gun. They had something which was really a deodorant thing or glass bottle that somebody interpreted. Somebody took pictures, passed it around, and it was a game of telephone. It was supposedly given to somebody. Our SROs had already addressed it before it even became very wide known. There was no issue of threat. We communicated it out because, unfortunately, social media is not factual. Okay? Twitter is not factual. People, students posting things saying they saw it. Well, if anybody sees it out there in the community and sees somebody do it, please report it to the police immediately. Our SROs will go right to their door. A couple parents were a little shocked today because the police, once they called in or sent an email to me, I sent the police because they had information and they did not want to give it to us. We are not playing a game. We have found an individual who has probably crossed the line. We will meet it with a full resort of our code of conduct. Safety and security is our #1 priority, especially in these times. We take it very seriously, and we hope people understand that we can't communicate as quickly as a telephone, a text message, or anything else. But please don't ever second guess my administrators, my teachers, my staff, the board's commitment to trying to make sure that we are always safe. And we want to thank the Horseheads Police Department, the Swan County Sheriffs, the New York State Troopers, because you know what? Whenever there's an issue, they are right there. We are lucky that we have those SROs, and I'm glad that it's in this budget, because I don't think anybody's going to be upset that that's in there, and that's a major add to this budget. So I want to thank you for all your hard work. I just wanted to get that out there. If people are watching, I hope they watch at home. But that way we have also a place where we can tell people, this is the board's position, this is the district position. So thank you for giving us that flexibility. Thank you for Chris handling that communication today, and also calling the parents that call in and helping them understand. We take everything serious. We need everybody else to report it to the police too, not just say it's your problem and you didn't do something. And I know the board has been very good at that. So thank you. That concludes all my reports and everything, and I appreciate all your help.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, moving on to our board reports. I don't have anything specifically, and we did not have an audit committee, so we'll turn it over to the policy committee.
We met on April 12th. We discussed at length the exhibit that's the Code of Conduct 5300 and the exhibit that's the athletics appendix to the Code of Conduct. We did work really hard, but we did not have anything to bring forward tonight for action. We tabled both items for further review. And there were no discussions or changes to the second readings, and no significant to the order that I recall this time.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to our finance items for action, we have 8.02 through 8.25. Can we have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Any comments, questions, or discussion on any of these items?
I'll be abstaining from 8.14.
Ward?
I'll abstain on 8.11 and 8.12.
Date and time.
Should I say the reason?
First of all, we can always count on Mr. Conklin for consistency.
Absolutely.
Second.
And you.
And here I am, yeah, I'll follow in his footsteps. I'm going to abstain on 8.07 and 8.08 and 8.18 as a BOCES employee to the Board of Parents of Propriety. I must abstain from 8.19, the vote on the BOCES administrative budget, as BOCES employee, my salaries and benefits funded by that budget.
Okay, thank you.
No. think we had multiples
We
abstaining
don't,
from
we
it.
don't, I'm writing them down.
Just for the community, we need 5 votes to pass anything, so we've got to make sure that we can still do the operations.
Any other comments or questions on any of these items? Okay, so all those in favor of 8.02 through 8.25, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And then the abstentions we have Kevin on 8.14, Lauren on 8.11 and 8.12, and Doug on 8.07, 8.08, 8.18, and 8.19. I know Candy already gets all these without me saying them, but I like to make sure I have it straight. Okay, thank you. So item 9, our HR recommendations, 9.02. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns on any of these?
I'll be abstaining from 9.02.
Anything else? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And then all those abstaining, we have Kevin on 9.02. Then 10, we have our miscellaneous items for action, 10.02 through 10.04. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Question on 10.04, do we vote for just one?
There
or
are
for
4
all of them?
positions open. That is up to BOCES to decide. My recommendation is that the board cast 1 vote for each of the 4 candidates. And Doug will have something to say about that.
Well, and that's how the resolution is written,
Yes.
so.
Again, as a BOCES employee, I must abstain from 10.04 as the Board of Education BOCES employees.
Any other comments or questions on these? Kevin?
I need to abstain from 10.02 as Chemung County is my employer as well.
Okay. Anything else? All right, all those in favor of 10.02 through 10.04, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. And then the abstentions, we have Kevin on 10.02 and Doug on 10.04. All right, we have 4 board policies for our second reading with action tonight. We have 11.01 through 11.04. Can I have a motion, please?
Second.
Any comments or questions on these? All right, great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right, and we have no first reading policies, and so I'll open it up, item 13, to any additional comments that anybody in the board has. Right?
I'd just like to reiterate what you said earlier in the meeting about the green room players. The little relay was amazing. It was great to see a huge turnout. I think it was an amazing turnout from all 3 nights, from what I understand, and the matinee. And the performance was unbelievable. And Tatiana, you were unbelievable. It was so good. Everybody was so good in the play, in the musical. The music was great, and everything was amazing. So thank you. I know you guys put in hundreds and hundreds of hours, and musicians did, and the set design, and it was all tremendous. So thank you.
It was kind of neat because, I know I gave Tatiana props already on it, but, when you look at the students that were in it and how many of them are young, like I'll look at this, Mrs. Carpenter's son. I mean, he's a sophomore, right? I mean, and how fabulous is that to be able to see, how, he's already spectacular and he's going to continue to grow and get even better. So we have a lot of talent in this church, a lot of talent.
I too wanted to give my compliments to the green room players. Not only did myself and my daughter enjoy it, so did the 4-year-old seated next to me, who made it a 4D experience with juice packs and taking my seat in time with the music. So to your point, President Dale, we do have a lot of talent in this district. At 4 years of age, they can keep musical time, show beyond that stage in no time at all. So thank you for a wonderful experience. I appreciate going.
Any other comments?
Would you like to go first?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to thank you all for your attendance and attendance at the Little Mermaid as president, and then allowed to me, but also the senior. And then also additionally, I would like to thank every member of the community who spoke today, as well as those who attended and did not speak. It's really touching, especially as a student, to see that both the Board of Education and the members of our community share a common goal in making our schools the best they can be. And I know that you all don't hear thank you nearly as much as you should, so this is me formally expressing the utmost gratitude to every member in this room right now for always putting the educational opportunities and the well-being of your students first. It means so much, and I'm very proud to come from a district that represents. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're up, Warren.
You should have went first.
I should I also want to say thank you. The play was spectacular. Saw the just ditto what everybody else said, and I'm nowhere near as eloquent. So, and then I just wanted to dovetail on Tatiana's comment about the polar plunge in Ithaca. In addition to the staff that Tatiana referenced, there were 2 students there, Mario Ruggiero and Andrew Miller, and it was cold there. I want to tell you, as a spectator, there were whitecaps on that lake that day, and it was really cold. So, but it was well worth going. So if you ever want to do something on a Saturday and be entertained, that's the place to be.
And Warren, if I can add, I do believe either Mario or Anthony would have taken Zeke or the other to do that plunge if we would, but it's too heavy, correct?
Speaking of the mascot, Mario told me to inform the community that they are currently holding mascot auditions as we'll be graduating next year. So if you'd like to be the mascot, contact Mario. That's it.
And then also on top of it, we talked about the green room players. I see Mr. Johnson here. I know Miss Warner here. They took all of our students to Disney for their parade. I got the opportunity to get in there finally through security and see it last minute. You guys did an amazing job. It sounded wonderful. I hope you had a great time because it was 94, 95 degrees while they were marching. So congratulations on, I know, an annual tradition every 4 years that is finally back, and you guys all did a great job. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, if you can also send that up.
Any other comments? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Motion to adjourn.
Nope. You have a motion to adjourn to executive session, discuss
Right.
individual.
Right. Motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved. Second.
Okay, so we will not be coming back to public session.
Yeah, the board will adjourn right from there to talk about individual personnel matters. There will be no action to be taken. Our next meeting will be, I believe it's like May 18th at 6 o'clock after the district annual election. We will have one budget meeting that we know of. That is the public hearing, which is an official Board of Education meeting, but it's usually one of the quickest meetings of the year. So that will be in this room as well. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. All of this information is also posted on our website within usually 2 to 3 days. So thank you very much and have a good night.